Okay, so we are continuing on our ad project, and let's get started and make myself a little bit smaller. There we go. All right, so let me get this down and keep going. So what we need to do today is look at this source bit engine controllers. So now we're in a different folder. We're going to be doing controllers and then bit engine controller. Okay, so first questions that I'm going to be asking is like, what is a controller? What is the purpose of a controller? I've heard this in other projects before, so there might be some item which is common between all of these different projects, and therefore, okay, I want to understand the structure of these projects. So let's see what a controller does. All right, so we have bit engine model. So these are our uh, namespaces that we've created ourselves. This is MVC model view context, I think. This is for like, I thought it was for REST API or something. Okay. Prometheus, I believe that's monitoring. And then we have here. So let's first off create this. So we want to go into controllers. All right, where is bit engine controllers? Bit engine here, and we do not have controllers. That is correct. So I'm going to come create a new folder called controllers. Okay. And then within this, I'm going to create a file here, which is called bid. Okay. And then this one will go right there. And now we include these ones. That's fine. Okay. Using bid, and we turn Copilot off. There we go. So the models using same thing, bit engine. The services, okay. Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.MVC. Okay. Final one, Prometheus, like that. Now we declare our own namespace, and I'm trying not to look. What are we going to call it? Bit engine. Dot controllers. Is that right? Yep, we got it. Okay. And then we can put this up here. Okay. So now, yeah, we have this REST API. Okay, so we actually are creating this REST API. Later on, what I think I might do with this project is I might change this, because I want to collect all of those candies. I want to be able to say C#, but I also want to be able to say Java, and I want to be able to say JavaScript. So what I'm thinking is, if I do this part in JavaScript, all of a sudden I get JavaScript, Node.js, Express, EJS, all of these things for free. I just get it for free. And the only difference was that I used JavaScript. If I do one of these components with Java, I get Java, I get Spring Boot for free. So I'm gonna write it here today, but going forward into the future, I think I'm gonna change it out to be JavaScript. so that I can just have that and say, hey, I get these things for free, and we have access to that to be able to put on our resume for this project. So, and then I guess we would have to communicate between the different microservices, and so there comes with added complexity with this if we do it that way. But that should be fine. That's learning, right? Okay, so I'm going to copy this summary here. Okay, now REST API endpoint for bidding, receiving bids request from ad server returns winning campaign. All right, so let's see how it actually does this. So we have this API controller. Okay. So this seems very similar to what we did in Java, right? This is the whatever the at and then REST API. What I forget what exactly it was, but it's the pre-compiler thing to tell it like, or it's the thing to tell the compiler like, hey, this is what you should be looking at. So now we have the route. Okay, so this is how we do it in C# API. And then we can embed things like this. Okay, sure. Public class bid controller is going to inherit from controller base. Okay, so that's part of Microsoft then. Here and now we have private read-only bid selector. All right, so this kind of stuff is a little bit more boilerplate, but we're still gonna write it out just so that we have an understanding of what's happening here. Private read-only budget service, same thing. Budget service, like that. Yep, and then same thing, private read-only iLogger bid controller, not nullable though, and logger. Okay, so now we need a constructor, so I'm going to, although that's not what I'm seeing here, but I'm guessing you would need a constructor and just set up those things with dependency injection, right? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't crazy. Okay, so public bid controller here with those elements, okay? Then like this and like that and like this, okay? And then get rid of you, get rid of you, and get rid of you. Okay, so now this, and then I need to delete that dangling. Okay, there we go. So now just set these things up once again. Okay, fine. This one is going to be equal to bid selector. This one is going to be equal to budget service, and this one is going to be equal to logger. Okay, there we go. Yep, looks like we set that up. Yeah, okay. So now, let's look at these two things. So, I am unfamiliar with these. I haven't seen these things before. So, Prometheus metrics. Okay. Private static read only. Okay, private static. We have our friend static again. Counter. Bid. Total is equal to metrics dot and now this. Okay. Label names. New array. Okay, so there. Status. This one. Received should have here. Does this one not have that? Okay. There, and then close it out. Okay. So I don't know what this does. We'll need to look at it. Same thing, histogram. Okay. Sure. So we've kind of gotten those now. So let's ask it what's happening here. And while it's doing its thinking, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. All right. Looks like it is done. Okay, so the snippet is using Prometheus metrics. So Prometheus is for monitoring, right? And it kind of makes sense because it's histograms, okay? To define counters and histograms for monitoring my bid engine. So it is monitoring. And I wasn't quite expecting to get into Prometheus yet today. But okay, let's dive into it and look into what is Prometheus. And then the way that I kind of like to do things is just try to do something and get an understanding of what it is and struggle with it. And then later, if I need to go and like watch YouTube videos about, okay, well, what is Prometheus? Now I have some context by which I can go in and jump into the tutorials and be like, oh, okay, I see what's going on now. Then come back to my thing and have a better understanding. So let's kind of struggle with it. All right, so counter. Bid request total. Private static read only. Counter bid request total. Metrics create counter. Okay, so we're creating some kind of counter from this metrics. I don't know, where did metrics come from? I don't, maybe it's within the namespace of Prometheus. Okay, fine. So, counter here, a metric that only goes up, monotonically increasing, okay? It's used to count events. Okay. So now name, bid request total, the metric name exposed to Prometheus. What does that mean, exposed to Prometheus? Who is Prometheus and where do they live? Okay, so who is Meath? Okay, hold on. Here. Okay. Who is Prometheus? Are they a separate application or in my project? The other question regarding this is, how does a metric name get exposed? Okay. The metric name exposed to Prometheus, okay? Help text, total bid, request receives. This is the description shown in Prometheus, sure. Labels is allows you to tag counts with status, successful, failed. Bid request total, so this object that we just created, with label and label names, okay? Success, increment. Failure, increment, okay. Histograms. The other thing that I've kind of noticed about a lot of things is trying to figure out when to go a little bit quicker and not get hung up on things, because I think in the past I would be very much, oh, well, I have to understand everything about, for example, well, these things with label and label names, how is there an association? How would I have known that? How, all of this. But now I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, okay, this Prometheus thing, it takes care of it. It just associates label names and with labels. How would I know about it? I don't know. There's probably some documentation somewhere, or I just like come to ChatGPT again and just get those keywords, right? Like there's no need to stress out about those things. The things that are important to learn are the concepts behind it. So like, okay, well, I have something labels and I can attach a label and then increment and see how do you do this process and what is it good for? How is it helpful? Why would someone use Prometheus, etc.? Those are the questions that are really important. Okay. So, histogram, bid latency in seconds. So now we have this metrics again, but a different method. Create histogram. Okay, so this is just going to be a standard method implemented in Prometheus to create a histogram. Bid latency in seconds, okay? So a metric that tracks distribution values, request duration. So we're going to see how fast it actually is able to be served. Here's the name and here's the description. Yep, we got it. So let's see how they do it. Var stopwatch. Create a new stopwatch, okay. And stop, and then bid latency, observe, stopwatch, elapsed time, total. Okay. Okay, so I kind of see what we're doing with this one. Let's move on. So after our REST controller, we are going to come here and I'm going to copy this description like this, and then now we're going to have a post request. Okay, HTTP post like that. Public async, so it's going to be asynchronous, which means that yes, it's going to be a task. Okay. Action result, a new thing that we have not seen before, but we'll try to figure that out. Bid response. Okay. Evaluate bids async. Okay. This, and now what do we want to do? From body bid request like this. Then we need to get rid of that dangling pointer, not pointer, but get rid of U. Now we can have this. Okay, so task is a promise, and it returns to us action result. Okay, so action result is probably some kind of REST object within the Microsoft, the MVC, wherever it was. This MVC, it's probably some kind of item within that, and it is specific for this class. Okay, now from body we get the request, so we have that incoming request. What items might we have with it? We'll figure that out later as we write this. Okay, so to come here, so var stop time, this is our start time. This is going to be for the Prometheus tracking, right? And then date time dot UTC now. Okay, we have our try catch like so, and then gonna be some kind of logging. So let me come down here and just grab that logging. Okay. There we go. All right, so now let's come back up here and look at these and try to figure out, okay, well, what's happening here? So if string dot is null or empty for the request dot user ID, okay, or if string dot is null or empty of the request dot placement ID. Okay, if either one of those are true, then what do? Bid request total dot with label. Okay, so now, see, now we know what with labels are. So now it's just like, okay, well, we're just attaching one of those labels to that metric tracking. Okay, with labels. And what is the label that we want to attach? Invalid. Okay. And then we increment, yep. Like that. Awesome. And then we return bad request user ID and placement ID are required. Then we just give a message. Okay, so that part makes perfect sense. That's awesome. So now we want to do var winning bid is equal to await, and we're probably going to have to call that bid service, right? So without me looking, hold on, I'm trying not to look. We want this bid selector here would it be this? Select a winning campaign. Active campaigns. I'm trying to find the one that we should be calling. Because this one is select a winning campaign, but it's not actually giving me the specific ad, is it? Hold on, let me see what it returns. This one. No, this one. A bid response, okay. Return null or response. Selecting a random ad within it, so it should actually be correct. And so all I need to do is actually just input this. So what I think I'm going to do is do this right here. Okay, select, I await this function here. Select winning bid async like this, and then say I need to actually give the body, right, the request. Like this. I think that is how we're going to do it. Let's see if I was right. Okay, so I have to do it on that object. Okay, so that's going to be a question. Come on. Come on. Okay. So for this right here, why do I need to have the object why can't I just do this right here without the bid selector, like this? So, like, yeah, I want to figure out why I would or would not need that. 'Cause I have access to the namespace, right? I already have access to that namespace. I should be able to just, unless it's like a, it has to be public though still, right? public async, yeah. Okay. So who is Prometheus? How does a metric name get exposed? Okay. Prometheus is a separate application. It's an open source monitoring system and time series database. Okay. It's not part of my project. Instead, my project exposes metrics via HTTP endpoints. Okay. So that's how I'm going to expose. Okay. So interesting. That Prometheus scrapes at regular intervals. Interesting. So it's not using like sockets or anything. It's just HTTP endpoint that Prometheus scrapes at regular intervals. In .NET libraries like Prometheus.NET provide a middleware that automatically exposes metrics at a URL, which is metrics, okay? Metrics, create counter, this right here, label names. Okay. When you define this, you're registering a metric name here. Prometheus middleware collects all registered metrics and publishes them in plain text at here. Okay. And so I'll probably have Prometheus running on my Mac computer, and it will be searching for those endpoints which have been created in the background by my program. Okay. So why do I need the bid selector object? Bid selector is a dependency injected, or is dependency injected into your class, likely via a constructor. Yes. It represents a service object that knows how to select the winning bid. You can't just call this method directly unless your method is defined in the same class. No, you're writing, or it's a static method on another class. Okay. But if I have access to that namespace, doesn't that mean I have access to all of the math? I don't actually know. I think it means that I don't, right? Because you need to do it on an object, but then you can have a static class, and those you would be able to. Mean that I have access to all of the methods in that class. Maybe I am thinking of a static class. Now that, yeah, I might be thinking, okay. Alright, so namespace versus class. A namespace is a way of organizing my code. Yeah, if using this, but don't automatically get access to its method. To call a method, you need an actual instance, okay? Static methods. Instance methods belong to an object. You don't need to instantiate to call them. Static methods belong to the class itself. You can call them without an instance, yeah. Okay. In your code here is inherited from bid selector class. That's why you need bid selector, which is an object injected. Okay, without this, the compiler doesn't know which object method you're trying to call. Okay, fine. Okay. Alright, so now we go back to here. So we did this, and we got a bid. Awesome. So we were able to write that part here. And now what do we want to do? If winning bid is equal to null, probably return bad. So we log. Okay. And then bid request total dot with label. Okay. And then no bid. That's the label. And then we're going to increment the metric and then return no content. All right. And that will be that for this case. So now we have we have gotten a valid add. Okay. So now let's see. Deduct budget for winning campaign. All right. How do we do this? Var budget deducted is equal to await budget service dot. Okay, so now we're doing that same thing. Here, so we have the budget service here, which is defined as where's budget service? Shouldn't that oh, bid select. Okay, so now this is a different one. This is budget service. Okay. No wonder I was so confused. Budget service. Okay. So where are services? Budget service. Where are you? I just saw it. Here. Okay, so budget service. Here. And now I'm going to do a method on this budget service. Okay. Deduct budget async. I think that's what we're going to do. And campaign ID and how much the CPM is. Okay, so that's what we want to do. I think. Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense. Like that, right? And now the campaign ID is going to be this winning bid. Winning bid dot winning bid is going to be a bid request here, and it's going to have campaign ID. Okay. Campaign ID there. Now decimal is CPM. Okay, so now what I want to do is that same winning bid dot, where will CPM be? Add content here. A bid price. Bid price, I think, like this. Okay, let's see if this is accurate. Let's see if that's what they did. Okay, so winning bid campaign ID, got it. bid price. There we go. There we go. Okay, cool. Awesome. Now, we see if this is, because this was a Boolean, so we can say if, and then not bid or budget deducted, okay? Then what do? So this is a problem, so we log it here, and then we return 503. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste this because there's not much learning in that, because we already kind of understand what that's doing. So actually typing it out isn't going to help us. Bid request total dot with label. Here we go. And now we do the success, and then we increment. Okay. Now we can find the latency. Yeah. Latency is equal to date time dot UTC now minus start time, okay, dot total seconds, okay. Now bid latency seconds dot observe latency, okay. And now log that information here, return okay with the winning bid, like that. Okay, so we kind of were tangent to this Prometheus. We didn't actually go in and explore how it's working, or really what, okay, so I did this latency thing. How do I actually see it? We don't know that yet. That's something that we need to make sure that we actually do. So I'm going to say Tim Grant, make sure we learn how to actually see this and see histogram in Prometheus later. Okay. So there we go for that. Awesome. So we got this one. So now let's do our favorite thing, and because I'm trying to save in increments. Once I get a file done, then we go save. Okay, so get status, make sure everything is good. Those are the two that we created. Get add commit. So now created a REST API controller to return add to client and perform performance monitoring for latency integrated with Prometheus. Okay. Origin main. Okay, so there we go. We were able to get this. Let's see, do we have any other actual questions? so let's see what that P95 is, because I've seen this before. Here is the summary comment for the method. What is the P95 and how can I interact with it? I know it's not actually something I interact, it's a metric, but I'm just trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I see it or determine if it's accurate? But I don't know that language yet. How can I interact with it? And how does my method accomplish this? I don't know. Anyways, I'm just gonna kind of type something out there, and hopefully it will understand what I'm trying to ask and give me some, point me in a better direction. Maybe this is why I love ChatGPT, is you're able to ask a very general question because you don't quite know yet, and then once you get more information, you're able to hone in and find out, okay, well, this is actually what I'm trying to find out. Okay. All right, so that little P95 latency line is actually a performance target, an SLO, or service level objective. Okay, service level objective, SLO. Not something your method enforces directly in code. Okay, so that's just an objective that we're trying to hit. P95 stands for the 95th percentile of latency. Okay. 95th percentile for latency. If you measure the response times of all requests, sort them, and look at the value of the 95th mark, that's the P95, okay? So I have all the response times, every single one that I've done, and I sort them, probably from like fastest to slowest. Then I look at the 95th percentage of it. So saying that all 95% fall within this bound, and I look at the lowest or highest of that and say, okay, well, all of my, so here's like 0, right? And then you have all of your request times. Here's the 95th% one, and then here's the other ones, so the 5%. So then I'll say, okay, well, I look here and I'll say 95% of my requests fall within this range. So less than or equal to whatever, 10, what did we say, 50 milliseconds. Okay. If you measure the response times of all requests, sort them, and look. Okay, so the 95th finishes in 40 milliseconds. 5 of them take longer, 60. The P latency is 40. Okay. All right, so yep. All right, that kind of makes sense. Let's see this. What is the request object, and what methods and variables do I have access to? How do I set this up from the other side to send a request to this API endpoint? That'll be another question. Let it do its thinking. Gives me another opportunity to take a sip of water. Or not water, coffee, I should say. Alright, what is the request object? So public async task action result here. Okay. Bid request is a model class you defined in my project. Okay, yeah. ASP.NET Core automatically deserializes. Okay, see? Okay, now this is something that I've been kind of worried about myself. Like, okay, well, am I relying on AI too much? Am I actually learning? Is this method working? But going through this, when we're talking about deserializing, this is actually something that I had no idea what that was meaning. But now we were writing the code just like we did in this video, and I came across the deserialization, and I didn't know what it was. I investigated it, and now I understand. So you have the serialize, and I'm trying to make sure that I articulate that word because otherwise the Apple Assistant is going to wake up. But you serialize a request, and that means you are getting it ready to send, and you need to have it in a string to be able to send over the wires. Okay, so that's serialize. Deserialize is when you get that data, the string, and taking it and putting it back into an actual object. Okay, so see, and this is also what I'm meaning by I find it important to understand the concepts. And that way, when you see them again, you're like, oh, yeah, I already know. I already have a framework and base to be able to work from. And now I can try to figure out, okay, well, in this specific context, what's it doing? How's it working? So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Okay. So incoming HTTP post into an object of from body. Yep. The definition might look like this, yes. Inside your method, you have access to all the properties. So it's just putting it into that object. So now, since you decorate the method with HTTP post, the endpoint is a post API bid, makes sense. From the client, you send JSON body that matches. So I have user ID, placement ID, country code, and device type. I have all of that, and it's just JSON. Okay. So now I come here, I have this request, and then client post as JSON asynchronous to this and that request. I get the response back, which in this case would be whatever okay with the add winning bid here, and then I can read that, okay? So I want to come here and just do this entire thing. And ask, when I do the return okay with winning bid, what am I actually sending, and how can the client use this request or this response. Okay. So, what's happening when I call this? What OK does. OK is a helper method from this ASP.NET Core controller base. It creates an OK object result, so a 200 OK response. The object you pass in here becomes the response body. Okay, so I'm returning status code of 200 with a body of the JSON serialized, yep, of the winning bid. Okay, I really like this, that in the past, when I was doing my other projects, I was very confused about how do you actually send these things? How do you receive them? How is it getting it? Because I'm sending an object. But now the more the more you play with something, the more you see it just one after the other, the more you just like stubbornly keep going, the more you're going to be able to be like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. I understand it. Okay. And it's just making more and more sense to me. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Which kind of like gives myself a little bit more validation, because I've been, as I just said in I think it was this video, that I've been kind of like questioning myself, like, am I using AI too much? Am I not using it effectively? Is it stunting my growth? Am I not learning? Right? Like, I have these questions because I'm trying to monitor myself to say, like, okay, well, how are things going? How can I improve the process? How is all of that working? And so I'm just making an observation right now in this video. I'm just observing myself and saying, like, okay, well, actually, I think that I am improving, and that it is making some, that it is definitely, I think, the correct path to just keep doing the projects, keep moving forward, keep investigating the points that you don't understand, but then move on and keep going, keep going, keep going. And then when you see them again, you'll understand them better, but then investigate. Okay. So let's stay with this. It returns, yep. So what is winning bid? It's an instance of my bid response class or whatever type. Okay. Example definition might look like this right here, and add content with that, which it does. So how ASP.NET Core sends it. ASP.NET Core uses its configured JSON serializer or by default system text JSON to convert winning bid object into JSON. Okay. So here's the response body. So this is we stringify it, send it over the wire, and then we extract it and get it into a JSON object. So how the client can use it, we do this, we get a response, and this response is going to be either the stringified. So bid response here is await response content, read JSON async, yep. So we get back the actual thing, and then, so this is going to be an object. This is a string, this is an object, a JSON object. then I can print the title, which is where would title be? Add content. Okay, add content title right there. And you might see what I'm about to type out here, and then here. Did it not get it? Okay, fine. It's so laggy right now. Notice that you have add content and title, but then in the print statement, so write you have add content dot title. The capitalization is not consistent. Is this a problem? Okay. So I'm gonna come back up to here because we haven't finished it. So we have that and we can print. Awesome. So now JavaScript fetch. So I can do a fetch here. Okay. Method is post. Headers. So this is from the client side JavaScript. Okay, fine. Headers and then stringify. See, now I understand. I saw stringify in the past. I had no idea why we had to do it, but I don't know why in this specific time on this project it just clicked. I think it was like 2 videos ago. I can't remember when we did stringify or like serialize and deserialize. Again, trying to articulate that word because last time the Apple Assistant decided to wake up. But when I was doing it a couple videos ago, I don't know why that time specifically it just clicked and I was like, oh, well, that, of course it's like that. That makes so much sense. And now I'm looking at this and that just confused me and I kept getting this wrong and it kept like really like messing me up. And I was like, well, stringify, what are we doing stringify? Why don't we just send the JSON? And I kept asking ChatGPT about it and it would give me the answer and I'm sure that it was the correct answer. But I couldn't, it just like wouldn't cram into my brain. And I made videos about that, so I think I made like 400 videos, 400, 500 videos, somewhere around there. So I don't know where, but it was definitely within the Java or JavaScript projects that I was doing initially when I first started trying to learn the skills important for software engineering. That I just encountered that and I was like, one after the other after the other. I couldn't get it. But now I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, of course. So the point of the story is just keep going. All right. Stringify this object. Yep. And then we await, and then we log it. Yeah, that's fine. And we turn it .json. Yep. And we can do a curl instead of a fetch. It's fine too. So now The difference between JSON property names and C# property names. Title, so add content and title right there. The property names are camel case, okay? In C# it is capitalized, okay? Why does this work? The .NET Core default JSON stringifier, I'm going to call it, just so that the Apple Assistant doesn't wake up. Stringifier automatically maps between Pascal case and camel case. That's kind of annoying, actually. Like, just, I don't know. I just wish we could choose a standard. Because, and this might just be a thing of, like, I don't know if other software engineers feel this way as well, but at least for me, I like everything to be very systematic and deterministic. Like, I wrote this exact chain of characters. It matches up with this exact chain of characters. I know that there is a connection. I don't like that, oh, actually, this one is a little bit different. But it's okay because the mediary between the two will be just, it translates it. It translates it. But how does it translate it? Now do I need to go in and try to understand how it translates it? What if it's not translating it correctly? How do I troubleshoot that? What errors am I going to find? If is it going to be a latent bug that just pops up? If or does it fail? How do you do testing on it? All of those things. Like just make it the same. Just make it the same. It's so add content goes to add content. Here's the translation. Awesome. This is controlled by here, which is enabled by, or just like do the one that takes away capitalizations. All put it to, like, have a translator. Okay, sure, fine. And that translation is agnostic to capitalizations. I can deal with that too. So that's a very simple rule, and it's deterministic as well. So no problem at all if I want consistency. Okay, fine. Okay, so there we go. Next step is we are fine. Oh, we finally get to do program C at the program. Finally, okay, we are almost at the part where we have a fully fleshed out project. Now it's not fleshed out at all, but I mean, all of the code is written for right now. Then we need to actually set it up with all of the Docker, the Docker and Docker Compose. There we go. Then I need to set up a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's just getting the minimal viable product. As I've said many times, my idea is get something that works, get a minimal viable product, then move on and play with it so that we boost our understanding. Then I can start adding features to it, and then we can just like develop it. I want to hook it, possibly instead of having a static database, I was thinking, why don't I hook it up to like an AWS database and be able to communicate there? So I've been thinking about different ideas. So, but that's cool. We're about to be at the end point for the initial minimal viable product code section. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I will see you guys very soon. I'm going to be doing another video coming right up, although I'm probably going to go and get some lunch and eat. So goodbye, see you later, and have a good rest of the day.